Welcome everybody to a brand new show of Overcast. And after how many years, eons, millenniums, I don't know, there's been a long ass time since we talked about Outlaw Rogue, and we have reasons to talk about it again.
Oh yeah.
Because Dragonflight, a new talents, and I don't know, man, it's looking good.
I'm excited.
You played it.
I mean, I like Outlaw, so I've always liked Outlaw, and the way it looks right now in Dragonflight is obviously cool. I mean, we already had a video out and we covered the other rogue specs, and we just couldn't get Outlaw down in time. And
we have like some super special guests. Well, we have Guy, who was previously on Outlaw Rogue podcast with Missler a long time ago with us, and for the first time in history we have Koji. You know, I can't even figure from Ravenholdt Discord, you know, because he's, you know, theory crafting, all that, but I'm gonna shut up. I'm gonna let the boys talk a little bit about themselves, let you know who they are, what they do, and then we're gonna get into all of the Outlaw goodness and badness, but mostly goodness.
Yeah, I'm ForeverGuy. I talk a lot in the Discord. I do a lot of theory crafting. I rate at a high level. I primarily play Outlaw, but I can, you know, kind of play all the specs. But yeah, I write the guides for Wowhead, write the guides for Method. You know, that's about it.
Beautiful. And now Mr. Koji.
Yeah, so I'm Kojiyama. I have been doing rogue theory crafting since Legion. I've been playing WoW since launch. Raid, mythic raiding, do all the simcraft coding and a bunch of APL stuff for mostly assassination and Outlaw. Leave the sub stuff to do, but been doing this stuff for a really long time. I love Outlaw. I think I try to play it when I can. There have been a lot of times when it wasn't great for raiding, and Guy toughed it out, but I'm a swapper, so I'll play whatever rogue spec I feel like at the moment. But I'm happy I'm playing Outlaw right now in season 4. I played Outlaw at the end of season 3 after the changes. It's feeling great. I'm really excited about Dragonflight.
That was what I was about to ask, because Outlaw Rogue in season 4 is looking very good, but is it looking good in Dragonflight? Because we have been looking at the talents for some time. Some of us actually got to play a little bit on the alpha. Granted, not a lot of shit works, but we're gonna kick it off with I would say with Guy, because he said he played a little bit on the alpha. Again, not everything implemented. Just want to get a little bit of how he felt the spec is like running, even though it's gimped, you know, to a lot of its corners. So, Guy, how did you feel about Outlaw in Dragonflight Alpha when you played it?
I overall felt really good. The talent tree gives you a lot of choices, and I've been playing like a lot of Path of Exile recently. So like learning like talent trees in that game has been a lot of work.
It's a job.
So, you know, having a much simpler talent tree is a lot easier to like just learning like optimal pathing of talent trees in that game has kind of given me an understanding of how to do it in this tree as well. Like there's a few talents that I'll look at some people build talent trees like, hey, you know, like, what do you think about this build that I'm making? I can just see inefficient pathings. So there's a lot of room for just optimizing pathing and stuff. A lot of the capstones are really interesting. A lot of the lower tier traits are pretty interesting. I think there's just like a lot of good stuff going on. Yeah. And especially for, you know, I had to write a thing for Wowhead about, they were like, hey, you know, pick like make a few talent builds. And I was kind of struggling to not make 100 because there's a lot of cute stuff you can do where you can go Shadow Dance, and then you can go all of the, you know, the ambush talents. Like maybe you go Fan the Hammer, and then you mix that up with, you know, is it Audacity? Yeah, it's Audacity. And then you don't go Shadow Dance, and then you go like Echoing Reprimand. There's just like a lot of different things that you can do, and that's fun, right?
Yeah, I can definitely see you're excited, man.
Yeah, man, it is great.
I mean, granted, it does look like they pulled off a pretty good job. I would say for all the rogue specs. I know Assassination also looks pretty good. Subtlety may have a couple of things still, you know, questioned here and there, but overall the rogue talent tree and with all its 3 specs look pretty decent. Koji, I know you didn't play the alpha, not gonna go there, but like your first impression on looking on at least philosophically and what they're trying to pull off with Outlaw. How do you see the talent tree?
Yeah, I mean, I've spoken with Guy quite a bit about this, and we talked a little bit on our podcast a while ago. The rogue trees are, I think, solid. Said I think sub's a little bit behind some of the others even after the revamp, but like Outlaw's looking great. I think, especially in the last build. I think the first version of the tree was decent, but the last updates were great. Like they added a lot more flexibility, I think, even beyond what was already there. Because I think we're already like reasonably happy with the way that the Outlaw tree was taking shape. Then like fixing up some of the connectors, adding a few more options, moving a few things around. I think it looks good. I think there's some interesting tension there between the whole Shadow Dance stuff, as Guy touched on. People are calling half these builds sub-law because
I mean, the term.
if they don't change anything, I think we're, Outlaw's looking at being in Shadow Dance probably more than sub is currently.
No way.
So that's a little bit strange. Maybe it works out. Maybe it's more of a general rogue concept at this point. I think it takes a little bit away from sub, but I think for Outlaw it's exciting.
Well, one thing. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Shadow Dance was taken off Restless Blades in the in like a few builds, so you won't be in as much.
Yeah, it's still like, I don't know. It's still a lot. I feel.
Oh yeah, it's still going to be a lot, but it's definitely not 98% like it was.
That's true. No, that was that I knew that was going to get removed because that just numerically didn't make sense. We'd just be in Shadow Dance like 100% of the time.
Yeah, we'd have 5 buffs. We'd have 6 buffs permanently, 100% find weakness uptime, 100% adrenaline rush uptime, 100% restless screw uptime. Yeah, it'd be.
Also, I don't see a problem there. Like,
it seems fun.
I think what Guy says is correct, that there's a lot of potentially non-obvious builds floating around in the tree. I mean, I think there's the obvious stuff. Go down, click, 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 all the way down to the bottom. Then go down as far as you can on the other side. That's what probably most people are inclined to do because that's the intuitive way to approach a talent tree. But I think if you do look at a lot of these interactions on the talents, like there's some potential for some pretty interesting builds that are maybe a little non-obvious on the surface, which I think is cool. I mean, that's why we wanted talent trees back, right?
Yeah, mostly like be more versatile in terms of like the builds, and if those talents enable you to like play differently the spec you love, I think that's for the better. Obviously, there's always going to be a meta, so I think people went into this thinking like, oh yeah, I'm going to be able to play this, and that, and like competitive level, you're going to have a build or two, and those are going to be it. But that doesn't mean that some things that are not that obvious, as Koji mentioned, are not playable, or you cannot not have fun with it, right? So
I think Guy was getting pretty upset on day 1, day 2.
Why?
When everyone was like, "We've got this solved meta.
Oh.
We have the build. We have the build. This is what we're playing for all of Dragonflight."
Yeah, day 1, first alpha pass, the trees come out, and everyone in the Discord is like, "Oh my god, this is the build!" And then people are talking about like they need to nerf this because this build is over centralizing. I'm like, dog, we don't even have a single sim yet, and people are already like, "Yep, this is the build. This is what you're doing. They need to nerf it right now." It's like, just chill for a second. There's a lot of
just retire for the next 2 years. I mean, they've already
exactly. Like people,
one day we already got this.
That's what I mean. There's like I'm not sure if you're gonna have a like display of like what the talent trees look like.
We can place it after.
Even just like one example is I see people when they make like outlaw trees and stuff is they go for the riposte and the ace up your sleeve trees on the right. But if you can path down the left and down the middle and then skip out and gain 2 talent points because those 2 points are just dead. There's like a lot of interesting pathing that I see a lot of people kind of, I guess, make a mistake on. So yeah, there's a lot of like little stuff like that. You can definitely path very creatively to gain a lot of damage with this tree.
I also think there are some things that are intuitively difficult to evaluate, especially until we get sims or do more testing. Like, I don't think people fully know how to evaluate stuff like deeper stratagem currently. Like, we don't know if it's good.
You mean the deeper stratagem from the outlaw tree, the one that specifies that the finishers get a little bit of a bonus or something?
Yeah, so like currently we take deeper because it gives us an extra combo point max, but it also increases the damage of our finishers. And in Dragonflight, they removed the latter part, so it doesn't increase the damage of the finishers. It's just an extra combo point, which could be good. It could be completely useless. Like we don't know yet. I think the same thing applies to, like, there's a bunch of talents both in the rogue tree and in the outlaw tree that are energy generators or cost reducers or things like that. Maybe we'll need all of them. Maybe we'll need none of them. Maybe we'll need one of them, and I think that's something we have to feel out the further we get towards launch. But people are just trying to, like, kind of feel craft it through, and realistically, we won't really have much clue until there's, like, finalized numbers about gear and stats and see how it all shakes out, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like for example, there's alacrity is energy efficiency. There's tight spender down the rogue tree, that's energy efficiency. Vigor is energy efficiency. Echoing reprimand is energy efficiency. Mark for death is technically energy efficiency. Technically improved ambush is energy efficiency. There's a lot of combo point / energy efficiency talents that you can grab on the tree. Some people think you need every single one. Some people think you need, like, none. It's definitely really hard to tell because energy is kind of a weird thing. You think you need all of it, but sometimes you just need none of it. So it's hard to say.
And also because some of the stuff was taken off, passive talents, people are mentally thinking of things as they are now, right? Like, you could look at something like Slicer Dicer, which is the talent that increases your attack speed during Slice and Dice more than the baseline. And in Shadowlands, that would increase your energy regeneration because we have Mangaush that generates energy on offhand attacks. So increasing your attack speed increases your energy regen. But now that's, like, kind of pulled off into a talent, into the Fatal Flourish talent. So unless you have those two together, you're not going to get any energy regen. But if you do have those together, you'll have increased energy regen from both of them. So there's a bunch of tricky mechanics that I think people are going to have to take some time to wrap their head around that we just don't have to deal with on live.
Yeah, it's I think one of the core philosophies from what I gather on them implementing the talent trees. A lot of the passives, or what we used to know as being passives, have been moved into the talent trees, and I don't even know a lot of specs who have, like, a lot of baseline stuff, like, without talents, like, few and far in between. I don't necessarily see it as a bad thing, but sure, yeah, there has to be a sort of rearrangement in everybody's heads. It's like, okay, a lot of the things that you were kind of, like, taken for granted are now are choices, and you have to be wary. And I think that's a cool thing about the talent trees because things are linked in between. And one of the most, I would say, most fun things for at least the rogue talent tree is the synergies between a lot of the nodes. Even when we're talking about this, I'm not even specifically talking about rogue class tree points that synergize well with spec. And I've seen this on Assassination. I've seen this on the sub on a couple of, well, sub of course, but I've definitely seen it on Outlaw. Now, I wanted to ask you guys, obviously there's a lot of excitement and there's a lot of unknown territory. Okay, so, but is there, like, something that still feels off, or you would change, or you would, like, have some sort of, like, okay, this is not really right over here or something like that? Did you guys notice anything, even with the latest build in this capacity?
There's just, like, a few things which we have one of the developer who's doing the rogue trees is very active in the Discord, so he's been taking feedback on things that feel good and don't feel good. There's not really a lot that, like, doesn't work on the tree. I think one of them is Fan the Hammer. It has a few weird things going on with it where what I noticed, at least when playing a little bit of alpha, is that what happens is you press the Instant Strike, you gain 3 stacks of opportunity, but unless your next 3 generators are pistol shot, you're kind of lose all of the stacks. So I feel like there needs to be some increased duration for the stacks, because the whole point of the talent is that you're going to get opportunity procs, you're going to collect a bunch of them, and then be able to dump them at your leisure. But when they expire so quickly, you don't really get that leisure, and then it just ends up like being a little bit of a weird talent. But other than that, like maybe some things should be repositioned, like maybe riposte and something like, I don't know, hit and run should be moved. But for the most part, I think everything kind of works as it should.
What about you, Koji?
I think Fan the Hammer is a strange one. I think in one of the conversations we were having the other day in Discord, I think I called it slow blunderbuss, which is, I think, probably what it was conceived as. I kind of do wish it played more like blunderbuss, that everything just fired off at once, that you had built up. I think it would have better pace than just sitting there and like having to hit the same button 6 times in a row on a normal GCD. But this is still alpha. They're probably still going to iterate on the feel of some of this stuff, so I'm not overly concerned. I think the only thing that really, there's 2 things that stand out. We don't speak about one of them. Maybe you can dedicate a whole 3-hour episode to Restless Crew, and people wanting to talk about Restless Crew. But we've kind of agreed not to rant about it too much. But I do think that probably the Shadow Dance issue in the class tree is the most contentious thing about the rogue trees right now in general. I think for a couple of reasons. One is that it takes something that essentially belongs to sub and makes it so every spec wants it. I think basically all the builds for Assassination and Outlaw are kind of gravitating towards it. Whether or not it stays that way, who knows? But it's really hard to turn down, because you get Night Sucker on the way down. It's really hard to turn down a 30% damage amp for 10 seconds every minute on any spec, especially when that also enables other stealth things like ambush or whatever. But also the positioning of cheat death being down in that same corner of the class tree really makes everyone's eyes go to that right-hand side of the class tree. It might not end up being the strongest numerically. It could be when we sim everything goes left side because, I don't know, Mark for Death and Lethality ends up being super duper strong, or they buff Thistle T by 1 billion% or something. But right now, that's, I think, definitely on everyone's mind.
Yeah.
With the whole Shadow Dance, Cheat Death, Alacrity, now Cold Blood, Night Stalker cluster is really hard to turn down.
Yeah,
there's a lot of damage there. it's a lot of damage.
It definitely looks that way for sure, and I'm not sure if percentage wise they can really change much over there, because that is dependent for sub first of all. So all of the Shadow Dance stuff, maybe they can do it when they go into the sub tree and maybe amplify Shadow Dance in some capacity, and then look at the percentages of Shadow Dance stuff in the general log tree. But I think, this is a very valid point. It's hard to sell the other spaces, the other rows for points when you have this much value coming out of the right side of. Although I would say that at least for Assassination, things like Deadly Precision and Lethality are looking very, very, very strong and could potentially be there. Plus, we have to mention the Shadow Dance. I don't know how much. I know it enables ambush for all specs, no problemo. But Shadow Dance doesn't have the same amount of value, let's say, for Assass as opposed to, let's say, I don't know, Outlaw, because it doesn't enable the growth. And that was one thing that I, talked about all the time, was if you're going to have stealth enabling abilities from Shadow Dance and not be able to use Garrote as Assass, that's going to be a big, big, big problem. But still,
that feels like a bit of an oversight to me, to be honest. Right? Yeah. I guess we'll see how it plays out. One of my thoughts is even if you leave Shadow Dance where it is. Oh, the other thing I forgot to mention is Find Weakness, because Find Weakness is huge for Outlaw.
Yeah.
It's actually the biggest for Outlaw of any of the 3 specs because it has the largest percentage of like physical damage.
Literally every source of damage from Outlaw is physical, so everything is just getting a damage amp. Like for subtlety, you have the shadow damage split on things like Eviscerate and Black Powder. On assassination, you have the bleeds and the poisons and stuff. But other than just trinkets and maybe some new weapon oil, everything Outlaw does is physical. So it's a large damage bump there.
Big value. Yeah, for sure.
So I think even putting that aside, the DPS stuff aside, I mean, probably my biggest critique about the class tree is I would move Cheat Death higher and more central. I think it's an iconic rogue ability that we should all have, that we have all had because every single rogue talents into it since forever. And it feels super weird to take that away from basically everyone. I would probably move it up to like basically where improved sprint is right now, like right on the 2nd tier, right in the middle, so everyone can grab it and just
Yeah, I totally agree. It's not the end of the world, I would say, but it is a fair critique. And again, the fact that it's placed on the exact row where all the Shadow Dance stuff is makes it even more, compelling for folks to go down that path. But since there's like not that much to critique, apart from what was mentioned here, I would just like to take time to appreciate what they did with this talent tree specifically for Outlaw, and just looking like at it from like a bird's eye view. It's like it's so good, man. It's so clear. And we did mention that there's a lot of like, stuff that people are not talking about, synergies that you can go, from the right-hand side, go a little bit to the middle and a little bit to the left and then right back. There's a lot of that. But if you're like talking to the casual player, this is such a clear talent tree. And if you just take a moment to like read what everything does, it's like, okay, left side is more or less the single target ambushy build. Middle side is all about roll the bones, and I love the fact that they put in the conduits that made roll the bones better. This is like amazing. You should do this for every goddamn spec. Not gonna complain. And looking at the right side, it's clearly the AOE cleave stuff with different in between options and stuff. Now, you guys mentioned there's a couple of things that could work off of each other in terms of like going on specific paths or whatever. Again, very, very field crafty. Love the term, by the way. What did you guys notice? Like, okay, maybe this could possibly work in the future, or just by looking at the talent tree right now, or you have some ideas like, okay, maybe you can go from the AOE part, AOE/cleave part, and move into the middle towards the left and way back. What kind of builds did you see in this capacity, like specifically?
The big and obvious one is that, obviously we just spend a lot of time talking about how, broken Shadow Dance is. So if you go all of the Shadow Dance stuff and then you go, all the way down the middle and then you grab Keep It Rolling, when you Shadow Dance, you can cast Ambush. Ambush gives you Roll the Bones procs. So, let's say you're in the opener, you Ambush, Vanish, Ambush, Adrenaline Rush, blah, blah, blah. And then you go Shadow Dance and then you just, go ahead and then you get another bunch of Roll the Bones buffs. And then you might have, four or more probably, and then after you have 4 or more, you keep it rolling and you kind of flourish your active Roll the Bones buffs. And Outlaw is a very snowball-y spec where similar to Sub, when you give them just like a little bit more combo points, it tends to get out of control very fast. So when you can have like it has a 5-minute cooldown, which sounds like infinite, but it's on Restless Blades. Yeah. And then when you have 5 active buffs, you're gonna have Broadsides, True Bearing, Skull and Crossbones, which is increasing your combo points, which then makes everything faster. It gets you more Adrenaline Rushes, which gives you more combo points, which gives you more CDR, which gives you more Keep It Rolling, and you just have this kind of feedback loop between things like Dreadblades, Keep It Rolling, Count the Odds, Shadow Dance, where the spec is going to be very fast and it's going to get cooldowns very quickly. Other than that, there's, you obviously take all the Blade Flurry stuff, you grab Greenskin Wickers, you do your cleave stuff. You can go down the right side if you want more Shadow Dancey stuff. But the keep it rolling one is the really interesting one for me that people think sucks, but I think those people who think it sucks suck. So
yeah, I mean, it's definitely one that's very difficult to evaluate.
Oh yeah, well, yeah,
yeah. So I think we'll see. I mean, yeah. To touch on your point, like this is an aspect of Outlaw that even I see Outlaw players get wrong when they're evaluating stuff, is that anything with a cooldown on it that's on Restless Blades, the real cooldown is about a third of what it says on the tooltip. The Restless Blades is huge, and it's a big part of like the Outlaw class fantasy, if you were, right? Like,
yeah,
it's basically what it comes down to is they could make all the cooldowns a third, and we would play more or less the same. It's a punishment for downtime, is what it is, right? So when you have your intermissions or whatever, like you're not going to have your 1 minute CD backup, normally 1 minute CD. I see this doing Painsmith this week, right? Is that if you pop Adrenaline Rush right before the intermission, you're not going to have it up for the ads. Normally, you would, like if you were just beating on a target the whole time, you would have it up in a minute by the end of the intermission. But because you're not, you just don't get the cooldown reduction. So that's what that mechanic's for. But it does make it very difficult. Like I remember you talking about Guy of like Mark for Death and Ghostly Strike and all this, like evaluating, like both in BFA and in Shadowlands, of people are like, well, it's a 30-second cooldown. And you're like, nope. It's a 10-second cooldown.
No, it's like 10. It's broken. It's like a 10-second cooldown. It gives you 5 combo points for 0 energy, 0 GCD.
Yeah, which is true.
So that it's very difficult, I think, for people to evaluate when they're just like browsing tooltips on Wowhead.
Yeah.
That they see like this as a 5-minute cooldown. And they don't see it as like, a 1:45 cooldown or whatever it end up averaging as being, right? And then you're thinking, okay, well, if it can extend essentially like a virtual 5 buff for 30 seconds every minute and a half or 2 minutes, that's potentially pretty good.
Oh yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, it's very interesting. I think you touched also on Dreadblades, and I think with the new connectors, there's potentially some interesting builds where that, you just dip in for that little 3 points to get Dreadblades.
Yeah, I think
Slight and
yeah, sorry to like cut you off.
Yeah, go ahead.
But like in general, the bottom of the talent tree doesn't always have to be the correct thing to do. Maybe keep it rolling sucks. Maybe we just don't talent into any of the bottom row stuff, which is, it's a fine possibility. Like maybe for an AoE build, you're just going, you don't get any of the, the capstones. You're just getting like Blade Rush, Sepsis, Dreadblades, and you're just not bothering with the bottom row stuff. Like people's eyes gravitate to the bottom of the tree, but sometimes the bottom of the tree is just a waste of time because there's just a lot of power everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I don't think we skip greenskins, but I do think, like, say Hidden Opportunity has the chance of not being great for some builds or some build configurations, right? You might just not end up casting ambush enough. You might not have maybe the lack of consistency there of like you're only casting ambush every so often, and what if you don't hit that 35%, 40%, then the talent does nothing. The old Master Assassin problem for assassination. Yeah. 50% of the time it does nothing type deal. So it's possible, we just don't even go to the bottom, which is, I think, is fine, right? Like there's nothing wrong with that at all. Could be like you just grab good stuff, you grab Sepsis, you grab Dreadblades, you grab Blade Rush. You have to grab Restless Crew. You have to grab Restless Crew.
I thought we're not gonna mention that. Thou which shall not be named or mentioned.
Yeah, we need a separate episode for just talking about party buffs and drama.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we had like a million different podcasts. Always gonna touch on this eventually, like party buffs and raid utility and all of that. But we keep
it's such a tricky topic because, like, from the standpoint of someone who wants to play Outlaw, probably great.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love it.
Guaranteed raid spot. We become the warlocks of Dragonflight, but I don't know. It's probably not good for the game.
Yeah, let's just not get into it.
He just stopped it over there because we're
not a big party buff fan. I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
Wind Fairy Totem groups are bad enough as it is.
Yeah, Wind Fairy Totem, Restless Crew, Banner.
Oh my god.
No, this is going to be interesting times, guys. This is what it is. It's going to be interesting, and there are a lot of topics to be discussed going forward. But yeah, man, it's like I was like just cycling through the Outlaw tree. This is very insignificant, but I cannot help but notice this. Combat stamina. Is this? Couldn't we have a better talent here? I don't know. Is this something Outlaw players want? I don't get that. It's just a 10% buff to stamina.
It is a little boring. I'll give you that.
I mean, it seems like it's just placed there, man. I have no more ideas. What should I put in here? It's just that's the feeling.
Well, that's probably true. It's a lot of health. 10% is a lot. Like, how much is Fort? Fort is 5%, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
It is a pretty big talent.
Huge.
It's a lot of HP.
Like,
it's a lot of
I'm not
HP.
going to turn it down.
Oh, no. But I was expecting this to be on a fucking tank spec or something. I haven't expected to see an Outlaw rogue.
It honestly, is weird being on Outlaw, but it's a really good talent. I guess like the goal is like you want like the parity of, if you look at both the rogue tree, it's like, you on just the rogue tree, you have fleet-footed, improved sprint and shadow step. Like you have this parity of like, this is the free, connector mobility, a talent that you're required to take in. For the left side, you have combat stamina, which is nutty, and then on the right side you have riposte. So I can kind of see the intent in it. It is boring, but it is kind of good.
Oh yeah, now that you mention it, yeah, I haven't looked at it like that on it. Yeah, it's riposte and combat stamina had two different. Yeah, I get it.
Well, some of the talent specs, and I believe this with the same mentality. Blizzard just wants to make sure that people have some things. They cannot go forward without having some things, and maybe the tankiness and survivability is a part of that. Although riposte is debatable.
Don't get me started, man. Don't get me started.
I think Koji was trying to say something.
I was just going to mention like there is some oddity in the Outlaw tree with the fact that like you're kind of required to grab grappling hook when we might have shadow step. And I know it's fine to have both, but it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
It feels weird to me a little bit that if you do grab shadow step that you still have to take grappling hook when you might not even use it or need it very much. I don't know.
Though I will say is, do you remember Painsmith on launch where you literally couldn't play, you couldn't play Outlaw because you didn't have step? So
yeah.
I'm not going to complain too much about.
No, I mean it's fine to have both, and I'm sure that there'll be a lot of encounters where that's pretty cool and will feel great. It's just weird that it's kind of more or less required, I guess.
No,
like you can't go down that tree. I mean, I suppose you could make a build that didn't grab Adrenaline Rush. I think it's technically possible, right?
Yeah, in the words of Blizzard, you can make a bad talent tree if you want. This is
a really bad
possibility. One. Yeah, you can make a really terrible one if you want.
But I mean, hook. Just for the fantasy of it and how it looks and feels, I kind of like. I always love that ability. Just being able to throw something and pull towards that spot. It's fun, right? This is the thing. Having that plus step. I mean. I don't see it.
What's wrong with more mobility? Spoken from a true Red Paladin main.
No, it's all good. Well, just that Outlaw needs 5 bars to be played these days.
The biggest issue is that when I play Subtlety, my Shadow Step is on Shift T, and then when I'm on Outlaw, my grappling hook is also Shift T. So now I need a separate keybind for both Shadow. I need Alt Shift T. I already need like a piano to play Outlaw, and then they're adding like 13 more baseline abilities. So I need to get my foot pedals in now as well.
Oh yeah, I was very. I knew like since I was playing it in season 1, I knew there's a lot of button to be pressed on Outlaw, but looking at the alphas, like Jesus, man,
it doesn't even come close, man. I think I don't know.
Is it now more combusted in abilities than enhance? Because I don't.
That's a very good question. I haven't played enhance since the initial second phase of alpha. So I've only played Outlaw a little bit more recently. But I feel like if you really want to get more buttons, you definitely have more cooldowns than actual rotational abilities. And it's not that's not the only spec that does this. So maybe this is the future of WoW, where you have like 1 and 2 and 3, that's your rotation, and then you have 2 bars of cooldowns.
Yeah, I think my favorite part about playing a lot of Outlaw is that I have 1,000 keybinds, and then whenever I go to level another character, I'm like, oh, how come I have 14 spells open on my normal keybinds? Why does is my Frost Decay missing keybinds? Did I miss some while leveling? That's kind of how it feels sometimes.
Outlaw's a little crazy, like in terms of binds, for sure. And then we're gonna be adding
but like. How
you're gonna have at least like with the builds that you're sharing. I mean, you've got Cold Blood, you've got Shadow Dance, you've got Shadow Step being added, you've got Keep It Rolling being added. You're potentially grabbing like Dreadblades plus Sepsis or something like that. I mean, holy crap!
Yeah. So going into going from Shadowlands to Dragonflight, we lose the Covenant ability, okay, and then we get. Cold Blood, Shadow Dance, Sepsis, Dreadblades. We're gonna probably go Blade Rush. Keep it rolling.
Yeah.
There's a few added buttons.
Maybe grab Mark for Death.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. Any other? We can also grab Echoing Reprimand.
Add it up.
Yeah, we could probably find another keybind to add.
You should make the max keybinds build.
Yeah.
That's worth making, right?
Yeah, it's the most damage, but it's the hardest to play. So,
yeah, this is another thing. Is like if Outlaw is going to be even more demanding on keybind space, do you think it will be like for new players coming in or whatever, or returning players who like the former combat rogue? What a term!
It's been a while.
It's been a while, right? It's like. Do you guys think this is gonna be I don't know if it's gonna be a problem, but like new players coming in wanted to test out, they dig the whole piratey fantasy of it or whatever. It's like, wouldn't this be a kind of concerning to have like this many buttons available over there?
I think JPC said it best. I think he said if you're over 30, don't play Outlaw Rogue.
I know that tweet, man. Shit, that's true.
No,
I feel personally attacked right now.
There's definitely a concern for new players in regards to playing Outlaw with 5,000 keybinds, but there's with current Outlaw, there's 3 different builds that you can play that are all like literally like a 2% difference. And people kind of gravitate towards the builds that they want to play. Like Tyrion is still good, but it's like probably the hardest to play. So not a lot of people play it right now. Venthyr is pretty easy, so a lot of people are playing Venthyr right now. Some streamers are getting people hyped for Necrolord. So as long as there's like a, there's probably going to be a 2% no-brain option that just picks like 1 or 2 active abilities, and you can kind of just pick all passives.
Yeah.
Just based on the history of playing Outlaw from Legion, all of BFA, and then all of Shadowlands, there's a lot of build variety. Where you can kind of not bother with a lot of things like, Ghostly Strikes. There was a lot of people that just didn't want to play Ghostly Strikes because it was apparently too hard, even though it was the best. Marked for Death, that was a big thing as well. People don't want to play Marked for Death, it's too hard. People, play Vigor and Deeper Stratagem. So there's always, Outlaw has always been this spec that has like 2% differences, and that a lot of people just pick the easy stuff anyway. So I'll probably figure out some kind of, baby build for if they want to play it.
I think it's tricky because like Outlaw as it currently is designed, and probably going forward as well, because a lot of the core mechanics aren't really changing, is a pretty tricky spec to play optimally, right? Like I feel like a lot of WoW specs are relatively straightforward. They're all based on like some spammable builder into a proc thing, into a payoff thing, and then you just cycle around and keep going like that forever until you do a big cooldown cycle or something. Outlaw is a very dynamic rotation. You're just kind of reacting to like your Roll the Bones buffs and your combo point generation, your Sinister Strike procs, and it's like there's no set rotation. It's just like a flow state. And I think it's once you get into it and once you have a lot of practice, it's plays really well. It's a lot of fun. it's very interesting to play in raid because you're not just spamming the same button the whole fight. But it's also pretty tricky to pick up and learn, and I think it is going to get worse in Dragonflight probably based on the way it's looking. And it is funny because Outlaw has the opposite perception with a lot of people until they try it, because they'll do keys with somebody and they'll be like, lol, like 80% of your damage is Blade Flurry.
Just press Blade Flurry.
Easy spec, right? And then they like, I want to make like some Wowhead plugin that just removes Blade Flurry and adds the damage to all the individual abilities, so people can actually see that we're using like 17 abilities in AoE instead of just spamming Black Powder.
There's definitely Outlaw is a spec that seems very simple. I'm sure there's going to be memes, just press Blade Flurry, LOL. But there's definitely a lot of nuance and min-maxiness to Outlaw Rogue. Like if you just like read a guide, it's just like, just build, spend, pressure cooldowns in the right order. But between like opportunity rules, finisher rules with blunderbuss, getting your Venthyr windows properly, there's definitely like a lot of little things that add up that can take you from green parsing to doing well, and all of it is at like 70 APM. So there's a lot going on with Outlaw.
It's very fast paced.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to get easier. It's only going to get harder. Buckle up.
Yeah. This is a funny thing that you guys mentioned. I wanted to ask you your opinion, going also on what Koji said, that a lot of the specs are like builders, spenders. And if I recall, like in the early stages of WoW, that was basically Rogue, right? You build combo points and you finish. Didn't have that much depth at the time. And it feels like over the years, a lot of specs have gone that. Like, no hate towards red, but you build holy power, you spend holy power.
I never said I like that. I never said
similar.
I like that.
Yeah, so similar to like Fury Warrior, you build rage, you rampage. So it's the lot of specs have this. You don't have the combo points, but you press X at a certain amount of time until you have whatever bar what you want filled, and then you consume it. And obviously, it feels like Rogue did that first, and now Outlaw feels like it's again a step ahead. So maybe Outlaw is the way of the future, as it was like, I don't know, 10 years ago.
Are you sure about that?
I don't know, man, because in 5 years nobody's gonna be able to play the game.
Can you imagine adding Outlaw stuff, then Outlaw mechanics to Enhancement Shaman? Like just doubling everything, and
I think
cooldown reduction all over the place.
I think Enhancement Shaman is like the version of Outlaw for the other side. It's like they have like 3 parallel building things and so many procs and spenders. So maybe I think like in this sense, Enhancement and Outlaw are the more interesting design. But I can feel like the Enhancement boy said it as well. It's like, we have too many buttons, man. We have no more bars available in the game. So it feels like Outlaw is going from there, like from BFA to Shadowlands and now to Dragonflight. I don't know how you guys see it, but
more buttons, more.
I think basically what Outlaw is built on that lends to that complexity is the fact that the amount of resource we build from things changes over the course of the fight based on either or random factors. You get a broadside buff, so everything generates +1 combo point. So now you have to think about, okay, my calculus of when I spend and when I build changes because I have different combo point thresholds I'm trying to hit. And then, say you get an opportunity proc. Okay, now I know I've got +1 combo point on my next pistol shot, but then I also have broadside, so now I have +2 combo points on my next, so that changes over the course of the fight. And it changes with procs, it changes with roll of bones, and that's going to get worse because you have all this additional complexity about, say, if you go to an ambush build, right? Like, do you have opportunity? And then that's going to change, if you have ambush, and then we've got the ambush anima charges, and then we've got like, when you ambush, you have a chance to ambush again type thing. So there's definitely not a static rotation in Outlaw. You're just kind of reacting to like what is happening in that moment all the time.
I think I don't think every spec should try to be like Outlaw, because Outlaw is kind of a handful, and it's definitely not for everybody. 70 APM, no static rotation, no cooldowns. It's all reactions and quick reactions to the 900 different procs and energy rules and cooldown rules, and I feel like it's fine for Outlaw to be this mess of complexity because it lets people who want that in the game have access to it. I feel like just if the goal is to make Outlaw more simple, I kind of don't like that, because I feel like if people want that kind of complexity, they should be able to get it. Because so I'm trying to level another alt, and my problem is that no specs have as much depth as Outlaw. So I keep rolling to something and being like, there's nothing here. It's just build, spend, cooldown, go. I tried enhance. That doesn't really click with me too much. I'm trying survival. It's a little bit more fun, but it's still just kind of this kind of build, spend. Especially with the tier set, it's a lot less build, spend. The point is, I just hope they keep Outlaw complex, because it keeps me interested.
Yeah, it's individuality of the spec at this point, and it should remain more or less how it works. Because I feel you guys are happy, and I think most the Outlaw mains are happy on how it goes. Sorry, Coach.
No, it's fine. I think it's a good foil to like assassination, right? I think part of the reason it works in the context of Rogue is that you basically have two potentially polar opposite types of rotations, where assassination is like one of the lowest APM specs in the game, and also very plannable. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, if you look at the cast breakdown of like a high-end assassination road sev or something like that, it's probably literally the same every pull.
Yep.
Like he's got like the next 3 minutes planned out in his head at any given time. And if I'm playing Outlaw, I have like the next 3 seconds planned out tops. Like
I don't even have that anymore because of the tier set just randomly giving me combo points. So I can't even do that anymore, man.
One global at a time.
Yeah, literally one global at a time while I'm lagging because of the
with a 0.8 second global cooldown.
Oh no, it's even less, because you get the motes that give you the what's it called, the action speed reduction.
Which
makes my GCD like 0.4 or something with adrenaline. Right? It's too much. It's too much.
I mean, I was spell queuing the crap with the mote buff last night. It was driving me crazy.
Yeah.
So this is the thing, right? Outlaw is, known for its fast-paced action, and I kind of agree with Koji here. It's like, I think this is like the best case scenario where you will have a spec in WoW that has its easy mode, but also can become very, very deep and complex once you want to get into that, or if you enjoy that type of stuff, right? And as he mentioned earlier, it's like, dude, at some point in Dragonflight, some of the theory crafters, either Koji or Guy or whoever, will come up with a build that is more easier and more straightforward than the others. But if you really want that extra percentage and want to play super optimal, then
you can afford another keyboard.
Yeah. So you're gonna get a 4-octave MIDI keyboard or something.
Keyboard, steering wheel, foot pedals.
Oh, come on! You're just gonna have the pistol shot build where it's just like press Sinister Strike twice and then press pistol shot 6 times in a row. Be okay, right?
Yeah, they'll definitely be the idiot proof build. I will be sure that it exists.
I love Phantom. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, see, look, you love it.
It's so good. It's so good. Oh, by the way, for anybody that's watching or listening on the platforms, be sure to join and check out the Ravenholdt Discord channel and the website, and check out the Tricks of the Trade podcast. I don't know how often you guys still do it, but I've seen there's been a lot more activity on that department, at least in the last couple of months. So, this is more, I would say, the average Joe friendly, but if you really want to get into the mists and the details and all of this, the crazy stuff regarding Rogue, you should definitely check out the Tricks of the Trade podcast. Did you guys make the YouTube, or is it also on YouTube? If it is, we're going to have a link to everything. So link to Ravenholdt website, Discord, all of that. It's going to be in the description for folks who are listening to this on Spotify or whatever, or iTunes. Make sure you check the YouTube, because we're going to have the useful links over there. I just remembered, Tricks of the Trade is back, baby. Let's going hard.
In general, I think we're probably the best spec in regards to theory crafting in general. I feel like half of the game for rogue players, at least in the Discord, is just trying to puzzle solve rotations and stuff. Like if you ever go into the Outlaw channel, it'll be, some people saying that the spec sucks, and then other people that spend literally all day being like, oh, I found a 0.1% optimization if I press ambush at this many combo points with this with like all this active. Where like I have a lot of hours in WoW, and I think I have more time spent theory crafting in between BFA and Shadowlands, just trying to find 0.5% gains, like talent builds, Azerite combinations, Covenant combinations. So if you enjoy, just kind of trying to figure out the 0.1% gains so you can actually be pretty much like the best player available, the Discord is pretty helpful at figuring stuff out.
For sure. We're kind of like getting close to the end, and this, like always, like if there's something you guys wanted to touch upon or anything, just go ahead. I don't know if we covered everything. Usually there's a lot more problems to debate and discuss, but Outlaw is so cool, man, and looking so good. It's like, I don't know if we miss something. You guys go ahead.
No, I think things are looking pretty good. I mean, for example, to speak to something Guy mentioned, I think Reels has been very engaged with the Rogue community, which has been super fantastic, and he's reacted to a lot of the pain points already. I know a bunch of people brought up, and I think we brought up on the Tricks podcast, so like, it'd be cool if there were some connectors between like the utility talents on the top row of the class tree, and then that was in the next build.
Yeah.
So like that's been great, and I think it's like kind of resolved a bunch of these pain points. I mean, there's still going to be some complaints here and there and whatnot, but I think largely it's looking really solid. I think, like I said, the cheat death positioning I think is a bugbear to me, and also like another thing that strikes me as a little strange with Outlaw is like a lot of the builds that are being shared around won't have acrobatic strikes, and they possibly will be skipping like long arm of the Outlaw as well because it's kind of the side and a little like awkward to grab. And it feels weird to me because like the increased melee range has been such an core part of the Outlaw gameplay since like BFA, Mythic Plus dungeons, and raiding. It's like that is like one of the big advantages of the spec, right? It's like this increased melee range, and it's gonna feel a little weird to me if like none of the builds actually end up running it.
It's all subject to, I would say, first off, tuning, because a lot of the nodes will need to be, I have a feeling that a lot of the fans of different specs and classes will have big surprises when the actual numbers are being looked at. Because right now, it's like,
yeah, of course,
free for all. There's no, and we kind of know. I don't know if they're gonna keep to this, but tuning is usually done later into the testing phases. So we're probably looking at maybe waiting for a beta. Get out of alpha and then go into the beta, and we can actually test like Mythic Plus, maybe test bosses and stuff. Now there's where you're gonna see, the potential builds and more, I would say, more close to reality stuff. Right now, it's nice to talk about, nice to like field craft and all of that. And I think the most important thing is like you kind of see where their philosophy stands with how they want to build this. And at least from that point of view, it's pretty effing cool, at least for Outlaw. And I would say,
I think there's only like a few, if I really want to get really nitpicky. So there's one talent. It's heavy hitter. It's where your ambush gives you an anima charge combo point. I'm pretty sure Real said he's already reworking this, which is, because people said it was a little icky. Where when it's basically ambush supercharges a combo point for 45 seconds, which is just the echoing reprimand effect.
Yeah.
There's a few weird things with this where one, when you're in Shadow Dance, from playing a lot of subtlety during progression, is that you don't really pay too much attention to the anima charge combo points during Shadow Dance. And then in addition, these can overlap each other. So if you're in Shadow Dance and you go, ambush, you get an echoing reprimand proc. You ambush again, you get an echoing reprimand proc. You're probably going to ignore both of them. And then there's also a chance that the second ambush overlaps the first ambush, which means you're losing the anima charge combo point. That's like, and it's just like a weird thing, but that one's getting reworked. Restless Crew, drama, blah, blah. A lot of people don't like sepsis, but it's probably broken. People should look
Consider
how
it.
much damage it does. Dreadblades is a cool talent that will sometimes kill you. Fan the Hammer probably needs an extension on opportunity, or needs some different rules applied. Like when you consume an opportunity proc, it extends the duration. There's very little to complain about for me overall. Any complaint is pretty nitpicky. One more thing. Yes, I remembered.
Yeah.
Find weakness needs to be fixed with Blade Flurry. This is the number one issue for me. So basically, both ends of Blade Flurry will gain benefit from Find Weakness, which means that the optimal way to play the spec in AoE is going to be getting a mouse over macro for ambush, and then you're going to press Shadow Dance, and then you're going to multi-dot essentially this Find Weakness buff to everything in the pack, which sounds disgusting, and I don't want to do that. But I like damage, so I'm going to do it, and I'm going to be upset. So that needs to be fixed, because it's going to upset.
Yeah. Don't upset Guy, okay?
Yes.
Don't do that.
Yeah,
you don't want that.
That's also a really unintuitive interaction that's going to catch a lot of more casual players out, because the way that Blade Flurry works is that like it ignores target multipliers. So on your primary target, it just calculates the damage on each individual target. So you'll do your increased damage to your main target who has Find Weakness, but that won't translate to
the other
Blade Flurry.
Yeah.
They have to also have Find Weakness for them to get the increased damage. So yeah, what Guy is saying is like weird micro, or like having to have mouse over macros or whatever. Like
it's ugly. It's ugly and disgusting, and I don't want to do it. I don't want to play multi-dot Outlaw Rogue. I just don't want to do it.
Unless they make it so you can use Blade Rush from Shadow Dance to Find Weakness on everything.
Yeah, something from stealth.
Can you not macro tap target into ambush?
See, this guy gets it. If you're in stealth, Blade Rush should apply it.
I mean, something that would work for it. I don't like it either. I mean, this is why I don't like playing Assassination in Mythic Plus. Like a rogue.
Nobody wants to play Assassination, so why make Outlaw an Assassination rogue? That's I like your thinking.
Yeah, I mean, this is all. I wouldn't say it's nitpicky, but it is like details, right?
Yeah,
I think it's good that we're at a point that we're just like talking about details.
Yeah.
Because it'd be much worse. Like some specs are still looking at their tree, or like their first person in the tree, and they're like, "What is this?"
Yeah,
that's not really where you want to be right now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, ours works. There's a few details that are a little yucky, and then there's a few things that are going to get changed. So I mean, overall, W.
Oh yeah, big W. I would say. I would say like the fact that the dev responsible for the whole rogue stuff is like this active and so like very fast on getting the feedback from folks and actually seeing the actual feedback within the future builds or whatever. That's very, very reassuring, and hopefully more specs will get the same treatment. Once again, everybody, if you want to follow Guy on Twitter or check out what Koji has to say, all the links are going to be down in the description. Twitter's, Discord's, websites, all of that. And we do recommend, if you are a fan of Rogue or you're thinking about mining a Rogue or whatever, it's like the best possible place to be is the Ravenholdt Discord or the Ravenholdt website as well. I know they revamped the website. You guys revamped the website, right? Recently, it has a fresh new coattails looking pretty neat.
Gotta make it look good for Dragonflight, right?
Well, yeah, boy, that's what's up.
Yeah, a bunch of time's been put into that, and I think we're looking at putting a little more content there soon as well. Maybe doing some blog style posts about us theory crafters and what we're up to and how we approach stuff. So
yeah,
you can look forward to that soon too.
And the Tricks of the Trade podcast. Don't forget, guys.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we've got a lot going on right now, trying to keep people informed and up to date. So
I see Flame scrolling through the new website.
Yeah, I'm looking. Well, I need to know where I need to go if I want to become a piano master.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's perfect. Okay, well, thank you so much, ForeverGuy. Thank you, Koji, for joining. I'm very happy we finally got Koji in, because it's very difficult to match up time zones and stuff for doing these things. Yeah. And we're grateful for both of you guys joining. I think it was a cool talk. and it's nice to just talk about the good shit.
It got me way more excited than I was hoping to, man. I thought I knew what I was gonna do in the future. Now it's a little bit cloudy.
Yeah, it's
here's my one piece of advice. Every single expansion says, "Oh, I'm gonna switch to Rogue. I'm gonna switch to Rogue," and then they don't. Okay, if you stick with Rogue, it's fun. It's
keep
good.
with it.
I promise.
Keep with it.
I'm with you. Yeah. No, thanks for having us. But reroll. Just give it up. Red is bad. Just go play Rogue. Better.
Embrace it, man. I'm gonna make a build for you. I promise. Okay.
Oh man. Okay, everybody. Thanks a lot for joining in, for listening, for watching. Catch you next Monday or in 2 weeks until we have some new stuff to cover. I think
more Molcast podcasts.
We covered all the Rogue specs. Looking for more. Bye bye, everybody.
Peace.
With Shadowlands. I've been loving it then, I still love it now. Still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. Getting better every day, let me show you how. Cause still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. It's getting harder to stay, but at the end of the day, it's a guilty pleasure, so just log in and play. Whether it's classic or retail, I'ma do a /bow. Still, I play WoW.